Welcome, Seekers. I am so genuinely glad you're here with us. Take a moment to just notice the beautiful dark stillness we're stepping into right now. It's intentional. We're using this dark mode serenity to mirror the exact space we're about to enter together. Today, we're not just, analyzing information or running through some agenda. We're actually starting a profound explainer journey right into the very fabric of your own consciousness. Think of this as a true masterclass in inner silence. So, whatever you were carrying before you started this, just set it down. Let's step into the quiet. Right now, wherever you happen to be, take a really slow, deep breath in and just let it out. Let your shoulders soften up a bit. Feel the actual weight of your body settling into your seat. You are about to discover the hidden space between your struggles. Just let those words wash over you for a second. We're intentionally shifting out of those anxious, super fast rhythms we all live in, and we're stepping into a state of deep experiential focus. So let's dive right into this space together. There are actually two distinct realities living inside you at this exact moment. On one hand, you have the jagged, illuminated wave, the relentless, nonstop noise of the mind. And then, right beneath it, there's that flat, totally still line, the gap, pure consciousness. Now, the crazy thing is, most of us spend our entire lives completely trapped in that jagged wave, actually believing that's who we are. But as you anchor in your breath right now, realize we aren't here to just study a textbook. You are on the verge of discovering a hidden, entirely silent space within yourself. It's always been there, just waiting patiently right beneath the noise. What exactly are we up against here? Well, imagine a funnel where an overwhelming 90% of your daily thoughts are entirely repetitive, and a staggering 80% are strictly negative. I know, it sounds pretty bleak, but this is pure neuroscience. Your brain is literally a survival machine. It's just processing historical data to keep you safe from perceived threats. It's doing its job, not failing you. Your only job is to simply observe this loop without any judgment. Look, if you ever feel overwhelmed by this mental noise, please don't think you're broken. You are simply operating a standard human survival machine. And by finally understanding this architecture today, we can actually start to break this repetitive loop. Which brings us to a huge question. What is a thought truly? Well, both scientifically and spiritually, a thought is nothing more than a brief wave of energy in the mind. It rises, hits a peak of intensity, and then naturally dissolves right back into the baseline. The whole thing literally takes just a few seconds. Think of a thought like a sudden puff of air hitting your face on a windy day. You feel it, sure, and then it's gone. The absolute root of all our suffering is that we mistakenly identify our very soul with these temporary little energy waves. You absolutely must realize this. Thoughts are brief, and they are inherently harmless. I actually want to pause conceptually right here. Let this sit in the silence for a moment. It is harmless. It is not you. Let that profound spiritual truth resonate deeply in your nervous system. Just feel the massive relief of that realization. Now, if thoughts are just these brief, harmless waves, you're probably wondering, why do they haunt us so much? It all comes down to the engagement zone. You see, a thought is essentially an empty wallet. It has absolutely no currency, no power, and literally no life of its own, until you fund it with your attention. We are actively funding our own suffering by judging, resisting, or blindly following a thought. If a thought biologically only lasts a few seconds, it only haunts you for years because you keep paying it with your focus. The biggest mistake you can make is to fight or violently resist the thought, because that just feeds it more energy. Ultimately, your relationship to the thought is the real problem here. So, where should our attention go instead? We need to adopt a totally new stance, the posture of the soul, the witness. Imagine your pure awareness is a glowing camera lens just projecting onto the movie screen of your mind. Now, a lens doesn't judge the scene it captures, right? It just records it. It watches. So the next time a massive wave of anxiety hits you, try mentally taking one step back. Just watch the anxiety perform on the stage of your mind while you safely sit in the audience. Don't say to yourself, I shouldn't be feeling this. Just watch. Because true consciousness is simply the quiet observer. Of course, the mind is tricky. It's going to try to pull you back in. To master it, we have to map out its tricks, what we call the taxonomy of distractions. They range from totally harmless, random thoughts, like suddenly wondering if you left a stove on, to really deep emotional pulls, like fear. There are these sticky traps of past regrets, and even super tricky, pleasant traps, like daydreaming about planning your perfect dream house. But don't ignore the pleasant traps just because they feel good. They are still pulling you out of the quiet.
Your job isn't to engage with any of it. Simply recognize debate, give it a little smile, and return to the quiet.
And we can't forget that distractions also come from the physical world. Maybe it's a loud siren driving by outside, or, a sudden, really intense itch on your nose. The deep teaching here is understanding the absolute futility of resistance. If an itch arises, whatever you do, don't fight it, acknowledge it, and just return your focus right back to the breath. We have this huge misconception that we need perfect, absolute physical comfort to find inner peace. But fighting the itch, that just feeds the distraction. Letting the outside world be noisy, letting the body be mildly uncomfortable, that is precisely what allows you to be still.
Now, what actually happens when you do get distracted? Because you will. We have to completely reframe this. Noticing you're distracted is definitely not a failure. It is literally the exact moment of your awakening. It's a continuous, beautiful cycle. Focus, distraction, awareness, release. Think of it exactly like waking up from a dream. The exact second you realize you're dreaming, boom, you're awake. We absolutely have to dismantle this massive global misunderstanding that a wandering mind equals a failing meditation. It doesn't. Waking up from that wandering mind is the victory. The act of returning, that is the meditation.
It's really the mathematics of mastery. Every single time you return, you are physically carving a brand new neural pathway in your brain. In neuroscience, this is called habituation. Every time you cut a thought mid-sentence and return to your breath, you are doing the heavy lifting in the mental gym. So please, don't feel defeated by the sheer volume of your distractions. Don't sit there thinking, oh man, I failed 100 times today. Because the reality is, every single return is a massive victory.
100. Think about that number. If you cut a thought and return to the breath 100 times in a single session, you absolutely did not fail 100 times. You successfully meditated 100 times. Let this mathematical truth really sink into your heart. It's this exact mindset shift that completely transforms your consciousness over time.
And as you keep practicing this returning, something truly miraculous starts to happen. You begin to encounter a state known in ancient traditions as shunya. Shunya. It is the pure, silent space, or the void, resting right between two thoughts, where true meditation actually occurs. We've spent this entire explainer preparing you to understand and experience this very space.
Which brings us to the ultimate truth. Right there, perfectly resting between thought A and thought B, is that flat, beautiful line of shunya, the gap. You see, meditation isn't this forced, violent absence of thoughts. It's simply discovering the void between them. It's so much like the profound beauty you find in the absolute silence between two musical notes. So don't violently force your mind to be empty, clenching your mental fists. You literally cannot force shunya. But if you simply practice returning, this space naturally opens up all on its own. The real truth of who you are. It's waiting for you right there in shunya. Now, you might experience this gap for just a fraction of a second at first and feel super frustrated, thinking, it isn't enough. But think about an iceberg. The massive structure you see above the water, the posture, the breathing, the returning, the cutting of thoughts, all of that is just preparation. It's like preparing a magnificent feast in the kitchen for 5 hours just to enjoy eating it for 20 minutes. Focus on the vessel of sitting. Honor your preparation. Because that tiny, beautiful realization at the very bottom, that single millisecond of shunya, is the true meditation, and it is worth all those hours of preparation.
So what actually happens to us when we touch this space repeatedly? This is where we bridge profound spiritual mastery directly with modern clinical science. We literally move from the frantic, chaotic energy of the survival loop, which is totally dominated by reactive beta brainwaves, and we transition beautifully into the awakened mind, which is characterized by calm, spacious, smooth alpha waves. Consistent practice literally changes your biology. On day 1, sure, your brain is wound tight in the jagged beta waves of the survival loop. But by week 8, and Harvard scientists have actually confirmed this, the mind physically slows into rolling, peaceful alpha waves. It's exactly like a turbulent whitewater river slowly widening out into a perfectly glassy lake. So please, don't ever doubt the process by thinking your specific biology or your personal anxiety is permanently fixed. It's just not. You possess the incredible power to become a spiritual scientist of your own brain. As our time together in this explainer starts to wrap up, your true practice is really just beginning. Because how do we actually integrate this deep inner silence into a loud, messy everyday life? Tomorrow, as you're walking to your car or sitting and working at your desk, just watch the thoughts rise and fall. Don't engage with the waves. Simply witness them.
The single greatest mistake you can make is leaving this practice solely on your meditation cushion. You have to bring the silence out into the chaos, because this is where the transformative power truly takes root in your soul. So, I want to leave you with this one final thought. A really profound invitation, if you will. Will you choose to live in the silence between your struggles for the next 48 hours? The space is right there. The gap is waiting. Step into it.